Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Is this thing on? Oh, good.
I am so viscerally afraid of accidentally texting the chief of police. Kind of weird, that's all she wrote. You are in my thoughts and prayers in perpetuity. Now, mind you, I don't even have the chief of police's phone number, and why would I? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Monologuing. I'm Mads Mitch, and I am your host today and always because, well, quite frankly, this is literally my podcast, so who else is going to host it? Happy freaking Monday. It is Monday, September 1st, which is beautiful. September 1st falling on a Monday feels very, very beautiful. It feels very, very serendipitous. It feels like the stars are aligning. However, it's not like a real Monday, hopefully, for many of you. In the U.S., it's Labor Day. I hope you get to take a respite from all of your labor. It's what's known in the UK as a bank holiday. So hopefully a lot of people are able to have the day off. I hope you're able to enjoy a long weekend with beautiful weather. That is my wish for you, but it's already passed. I hope you've had a wonderful weekend is what I'm getting at. I personally cannot believe that it is September 1st. Labor Day weekend is kind of like the unofficial end of summer. And I know we have a few more weeks until it's like officially autumn, but it feels crazy. I know that it's like such a cliche to be like, wow, the summer flew by. Name one thing that happened this summer. I can't. The only things that happened this summer were I got my wisdom teeth out and Taylor and Travis got engaged. That's literally all I have. Nothing good happened this summer at all, ever. And if you think something good happened to you this summer, it probably didn't. I'm sorry. If I have to suffer in this, you have to suffer as well. Like nothing, just like this summer was so blech. It was like thumbs down, boo, boo, tomato, tomato, hiss, hiss. Like I do not condone. I don't love this summer, which is why I'm honestly like, I hate to say it, but I am excited. I'm excited because September's a great month, first of all. Traditionally and historically, the weather is pretty good. It's pretty good. It's in Massachusetts for like the last week. It's been like consistently in like the mid to low 70s and sunny, which is that is my dream society. That is my utopian society. I live for that. So that's beautiful. And September historically has pretty good weather where it's not too hot, but it's not too cold yet. And it's kind of the start of like some really great months of the year. October's a great month. November's a great month. December's a great month. So I'm kind of like, I don't know. I'm just like kind of in it for the burr months. Like I'm excited for the burr months. And I think also having a summer that was just like, just makes you like, yeah, you know what? Bring on the burr months. But it is great. Like the passing of time never ceases to amaze me. But I'm a broken record on that. So I'm not going to elaborate any further. Anyways, today's episode, it just worked out so perfectly that it is September 1st. It is a Monday and we are talking about back to school horror stories. I don't think we've ever done an episode like this on the podcast, which I'm very excited for. I personally have some of my own back to school horror stories that I am so delighted to share with you today. I don't think I've ever spoken about these on the internet, so new lore about to be unlocked. And we will jump into that in Act 2. But before that, let's jump into Act 1. I had been thinking of, if you listen to the podcast when it was Parked Car Convos, I obviously did peaks and valleys of the week, which were my highs and lows of that week. And I kind of have been encompassing those in Act 1 as is, along with, consumption corner and some other little tidbits here and there. But I wanted to have like a little bit more structure to Act 1. So I needed to come up with a new name for peaks and valleys because that feels very on theme for Parked Car Convos. I have landed on Cheers and Tears. It feels very theatrical. It feels very fitting with the theme. I'm obsessed with it. So let's jump in with Cheers and Tears. My cheers for this week, pumpkin spice is back at Dunkin'. Okay. It is back. Pumpkin spice is fucking back. And I don't know. Maybe that's what it was that had me thinking like, you know what? Bring on September. I love Dunkin' Donuts pumpkin spice. It means the world to me. It feels like an old friend. It brings back really, really beautiful memories, honestly, because when I was in college, we had a Dunkin' Donuts on campus that took our meal plan swipes, which was amazing because it was, in my mind, free Dunkin' Donuts. And as soon as we would start school is when the fall flavors would come out. So it was like, that's how I marked the beginning of a new school year at college in a positive way, because a lot of collegiate memories of mine are negative and awful, but that one is a good one. And so every time I have a sip of a Dunkin' pumpkin spice, I think, yes, I'm home. Like, I'm home. Like, this is really beautiful. And I consider myself like a pumpkin spice expert of sorts, just due to the fact that I am kind of like the most basic of white girls you could possibly get. And Dunkin' pumpkin spice reigns supreme. Now, my order, in case you're wondering, is just an iced pumpkin with cream. I get cream because I love myself. You know what? I'm sick of the oat milk. I'm sick of the almond milk, and I'm sick of regular milk too, quite frankly. I'm getting fucking cream in my coffee, and that's that at the end of the day. It just like adds to it. It really does add to it. You know, the creaminess of the literal cream and the pumpkin swirl. It's just it's iconic. It's everything to me. And I had my first one on Monday, my first of the season, and it was unreal. And just like taking that first sip of a pumpkin coffee, it's like, yeah, yep, this is it. And I am from Massachusetts, and if you don't know what the relevance is there, like Dunkin' Donuts originated in Quincy, Massachusetts. That's where the first one ever was built. Why can't I think of how to phrase that? That's where the first Dunkin' is housed. She's housed in Quincy, Massachusetts, and it's like a rite of passage to get a coffee from that Dunkin' Donuts, and I absolutely have. There's a Dunkin' Donuts on every single corner in Massachusetts, like to an alarming degree, and they're always busy. Like, there's always like a line wrapped around the corner. And pumpkin spice is like my time to shine. Like, that is when I am patronizing Dunkin' Donuts the most frequently, hands down. So everyone go out and buy some. It sounds like an ad. It's not. Oops, I wish it was. But go buy some. Go get yourself a cup of Dunkin' pumpkin spice. Anyways, my tears are that I shattered my phone. I went for a run. That could have been tears in and of itself, but no. My tears were that I dropped my phone on said run, which is like really punishment for exercising. That's feeling cruel and unusual. And when you can tell sometimes when you drop your phone, you're like, fuck, I know that can't be good. And that's how I felt. And then I picked it up, and I'm so dumb. I didn't even realize that it actually cracked the screen. Oops. It's because my phone, I don't know if you guys have your phones on this setting too. It's like an auto setting. I don't know how to turn it off. Not that I care to, but like when my phone goes to sleep, it doesn't actually fully like turn the screen off. It just like dims it down. So it's like, I don't know. It's never, I never see like a fully blank, like black screen. And so it made it so much harder to actually see the crack in it. But there was like, it cracked at the bottom, and then there was like one big long crack all the way up the screen, which was great. So I had to go to the Apple store to get it repaired. And that was really fun because he was like, do you have Apple Care? No. And why would I? And then he tried to sell me Apple Care, and I was like, you know what? I'm just manifesting that this never happens again. So I reject your offer. Thank you so much. I did go an hour and a half without my phone. That was crazy. And you know what? Say what you will. All of us, every single person listening to this podcast has to have at least a mild phone addiction. Don't tell me otherwise. I'm not open to hearing alternative feedback on that topic at this point. And granted, I literally dropped my phone off. It was an hour and a half. I don't know if I said that. It was not that long at all. And there are 100%, I want to make this abundantly clear, 100%, there are 90-minute chunks of my day where I'm not on my phone at all. But it was the fact that I was like out in the wild. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are times when I'm at home and I like put my phone in another room to do work or something like that. But it's like, if anything happened, if I ever needed my phone, it's right there. Like, it's not away from me. There was something so like jarring to my system about like, okay. And I'm just like out here, I'm just out here living. And if something were to happen, I don't know. That's just how my anxiety works. But it felt very freeing. I thought it was going to take a lot longer. So I was going to go home in between. But then when they said it was only going to take an hour and a half, I was like, you know what? I can run some errands around here. I went to a bookstore. I got a coffee. I was just like, I've never felt more free in my life. I 10 out of 10 would recommend just kind of like going off the grid every once in a while. Just like completely separating from your phone. I also like, it is just kind of annoying too, because I was literally about to say like, you know, just like go into nature without your phone. Don't do that if you're a woman. That's like literally the worst advice I could ever give you. And then it's all coming back to me as to like why phones are actually so important. But it was very very freeing in that moment. So shout out to the Apple Store for essentially confiscating my phone for a price. Thank you. So life hack, break your phone, pay Apple a lump sum and have them take your phone away from you for an hour and a half. That's how you overcome a phone addiction. A couple other things that I wanted to talk about briefly. I have another show recommendation. I watched the show with my entire family. It's a Netflix show called Untamed. It is scary. Maybe I'm a baby. I don't know. It is scary. I would not quite like Criminal Minds level, like creepy, scary, but it's not that. Do you know what I mean? Like it's pretty dark and twisted. The reason I liked it, because as you know, like I'm like kind of really off on dark and twisted television at this point in time. The reason I really liked it is because it was a good mystery throughout the entire season, and I do love a mystery. And I will say, like, the dark parts of it wasn't like in Criminal Minds, it's like the whole show was like dark and heavy. This wasn't that. Like there was definitely elements of it that like there was a part in each episode that was kind of dark and scary, but the episodes as a whole weren't like that, if that makes sense. It's this really great show about this. It's a national park. What park is it? I want to say it's Yosemite ? I think it is. No, it's not Yellowstone, so it must be Yosemite. Yeah, it takes place at Yosemite, and it's like a park ranger, and then there's this separate bureau. It's like technically a branch of the FBI that works exclusively in national parks, and so there's this guy who is like this FBI agent, but for Yosemite, and there's a murder, and he's investigating the murder, and him and this park ranger start investigating it together. It's a crazy story. Like I had no clue where it was going like the whole time, which was kind of fun. Cause it's like episode by episode, obviously you're learning more information. And then at the end of the season, everything is made abundantly clear, and there is going to be a second season. So that's exciting. I think the second season is going to be with like not an entirely new cast. I think the main guy's going to be the same, but it will be a new cast beyond that because I think he's going to be in a different place. But it's a great show. I can't recommend it enough. And it just kind of, I want to say it was like 6 or 7 episodes. It wasn't very many episodes. They were like an hour long, but it just kind of kept you on the edge of your seat. You know, I love a good mystery, so that it was kind of checking all the boxes, but it is scary. So I might recommend not watching it by yourself at night. That's my recommendation to you. Okay. The last thing I will say about TV is Love Island, Jesus. Love is Blind, UK. They came out with their last batch of episodes. It was so great. Like I'm not going to harp on it because I know that like -5 people listening to the podcast watch that show, but I will just like reiterate, if you've been wanting to get into Love is Blind per my consistent and borderline relentless recommendations, like this is the season to start with. Love is Blind UK season 2. Incredible. Just across the board incredible. I'm excited because I'm recording this episode on Friday, and on Sunday the reunion comes out, and the reunions are just always deliver. So I'm very, very excited for the reunion. But yeah, it was truly a great season. It had some of like, I think the more genuine cast of the show ever. So that was a really, really beautiful thing to witness. So Love is Blind UK. This is my like final hurrah of like, please go and watch it. For consumption corner, something that I have been cooking. What have I been cooking? I wrote down appetizers because, a few weeks ago, this is not very recent, but it's recent enough. I went through a phase where I was making like all these little appetizers for dinner, and they were so good. So I wanted to share these recommendations with you. They're also good summery ones. So like end of summer vegetable season, end of summer season, like try and make some of these in the month of September. Okay. This one that I had was amazing. This could also be a good side dish for something. I made homemade tzatziki. I never know how to say it. I'm sorry to the Greeks, but homemade tzatziki. And then I kind of layered that on a plate, right? So that's the base. And then I grilled zucchini in like olive oil, garlic, salt, pepper, grilled zucchini, layered that on top just kind of beautifully. And then I added in, I sprinkled on top like crispy chickpeas, and what did I serve that with? I think I served it with, I actually don't know. I think I ate something with that, but I don't know what I ate that with. That was incredible. And it would be an incredible side dish. The tzatziki and the zucchini, so good together. The chickpeas just add a nice little crunch. It was so yummy and very healthy and very like refreshing. What else did I make? Okay, then I made this incredible street corn dip. Okay, there's like a few restaurants around here. There's a restaurant that I would go to in Boston that my friends and I are like kind of ironically obsessed with. But one of the appetizers, because it's like not a great restaurant by any means, but they had this one appetizer that's incredible, and it's grilled avocado. I don't even know what they would put. They would grill the avocado, and then it was like cheese or like salsa or something was on top of it, and you would eat it with like a tortilla chip essentially. So freaking good. And then there's another restaurant that's closer to me that my brother and I went to, and they had something similar, and so we ordered it there, and we were both obsessed with it. Just grilled avocado, slept on. Why aren't more people grilling avocados? I don't know. But I made this street corn dip, and I decided to also grill an avocado to just kind of combine the two. So I did the street corn dip, and I grilled the avocado and had that as part of this dish as well. And then I served that with tortilla chips as well. So good. There's like a bajillion recipes for street corn dip all over TikTok, all over Pinterest, all over the internet, everywhere, I'm sure. But it's essentially just like grilled corn, cotija cheese. I think there was a little bit of Greek yogurt in it, mayo, a few different seasonings. One seasoning that the recipe didn't call for but worked so perfectly and I totally forgot I even had it, is this seasoning from Trader Joe's. It's like a citrus garlic seasoning. It was incredible because the dip is obviously very like limey, so there's lime juice, lime zest on it. What else? Red onion was in it, I think. It was incredible. And then I grilled the avocado to just like zhuzh it up a little bit. Incredible. I can't recommend it enough. And then that night I also made a whipped ricotta. And that was so good. I made a whipped feta dip earlier in the summer, and I liked that. I love feta, but something about the whipped ricotta dip just, I don't know, hit so much harder. I don't know if it was the consistency of it. I was able to get a little bit better than the feta dip, but this one, it was so good. I did whipped ricotta, which is literally just ricotta, and I think I put some like milk in it to help get it to that consistency. And then I added like olive oil. I added a little bit of honey to give it some sweetness. I did honey. I wanted to do hot honey, but I realized I didn't have any. So I did honey, and then I just did red pepper flakes. But then I also did, I like baked some cherry tomatoes in the oven until they got like nice and blistered. And then I put those with the ricotta dips, and then I served it with like grilled crostini. So I took the crostini, and then you would add like a layer of the ricotta and then some of the blistered tomatoes. It was so freaking good. And so make that before tomato season is over. Make the street corn dip before corn season is over. Make the zucchini before zucchini season is over. I cannot recommend these things enough. I truly cannot. So those are my recommendations. That's what I have been cooking and consuming, quite frankly, in that order: cooking and then consuming it. Do I have anything else for you? No, that's it. That's all of my updates. Let's jump into Act 2, your back to school horror stories and mine. My back to school horror stories both take place kind of on the first day of school. I'll start with my kindergarten one. In kindergarten, it was a few days before kindergarten, actually. And I don't know if I was excited to start kindergarten. That doesn't really sound like me personally, but I was playing in my backyard, and we had a swing set that had a slide, and I thought it was so cool to like climb up the slide instead of sliding down, because I'm just such a contrarian, and I march to the beat of my own drum, and I kind of go against the flow. And I was climbing up the slide, and this is so embarrassing. I toppled over, like I was close to the top of the slide, and I toppled over the side and just fell clean off. So embarrassing. And broke my collarbone in the process. Oops. Which is borderline pathetic. I mean, I get that like I was a small child and like my bones were probably very frail, but like the slide was not that big. So it is kind of embarrassing in hindsight, but I broke my collarbone. I had to go to the hospital. I got like a sling because your collarbone's in such a weird spot that obviously you can't have like a cast for it. But I had a sling to hopefully, I don't know what actually, now that I'm feeling that, I guess it was so I wasn't moving my arm too much to keep my collarbone safe to heal. I don't know. But I did have to go to school on the first day of school in a sling, which wasn't the greatest look. It actually, the look kind of I'll see if I can find a picture. God, this is gonna, every single time I say that I'll find a picture to post on the podcast Instagram correlating to my childhood, it results in me doing like a colossal deep dive of every single childhood photo I've ever taken. But I'll try, I think I might even have a picture of it on my phone, so I'll have to try and find it. But I'm wearing this like little denim jumper and I have a sling, and I'm like, it's like kind of sad, but it's like also kind of really cute. And so I couldn't take the bus, and I think that was like the biggest thing that was exciting about going to kindergarten, is that like I was finally taking a school bus, and I wasn't able to do that because the doctors didn't want me in a sling on the school bus, because obviously like you're not in it, there's no seat belts, and kids could be pushing each other around. They were like worried about my safety. But so then I had to get driven to school, which was just like such a bummer. And that just kind of, I don't know. I will say though, like kindergarten, I think I peaked in kindergarten. I'm not going to lie. I was extremely cool in kindergarten. Weird brag, but I feel comfortable saying that because that was the last time I self-identified that way. I was extremely cool in kindergarten. And when I had my arm in this sling, that's when I learned how to do a one-handed cartwheel. Talk about making the most of a bad situation. Like I said, you know what? I still want to be the cool, fun girl. So I'm going to learn how to do a one-handed cartwheel, which is actually in hindsight extremely baller. Like you have your one arm in a sling, and so you just say, okay, I'll just do it with one hand then. That's kind of like, there is something very kind of deeply admirable about that. So I admire her resilience. The second is like not so cute. The second happened in second grade. It was the first day of second grade, and we were all in the cafeteria. We had just gotten to school. Like we had just arrived at school off the bus. I also, growing up, I had so many issues with my school bus where I actually don't know if this was like the bus company that kept fucking these things up, or like, I don't know who is to blame here, but I would always like, because what I'm about to say makes it sound like it is my fault, but like it definitely wasn't. I was always kind of like on the wrong bus somehow accidentally, or I'm gonna need to ask my mom about this because I like don't remember the specifics, but there were like multiple times where I ended up on the wrong bus, or the bus would just go right by my house and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm right here. And then I was one of the first kids to get off the bus, which was like such a blessing. And then I would have to stay on the entire time, but it would be so confusing and so stressful because my parents or my grandma would be at my house like waiting for me to get off the bus. And then they would like see the bus shoot right by and they'd be like, okay, where is she? And this is like before I had a phone. This was like, so they'd be so concerned and confused as to like where I was. But that happened multiple times. And I think part of it was always like the beginning of the school year, because there was a time when I was getting on one bus in the morning and then I would take a different bus home, which was so confusing. But the bus driver didn't seem to know that they were taking me home. I don't know I think it was like it was me specifically. Like it was my luck that like that just kept happening year after year, which was really like the day that I got my first cell phone, which was like one of my parents' old flip phones that we had lying around, was because I like didn't make it home from school that day via the bus because it was so unnecessarily confusing. Again, this isn't making me sound smart. I assure you, it was literally not my fault at all. Anyways, it was the first day of second grade. We had just arrived to school, getting off the school bus. We all went into the cafeteria because I think they were like lining us up. Obviously, this was elementary school, so everyone's super young. They were like lining us up by teacher, so that we could all walk down to the classroom together. I think it was to like, show us where our classroom was, show us how like what we would be doing every morning when we got off the school bus. So I'm in the cafeteria. We're all lined up in a straight line behind our teacher. And I was like the second person in line. So there was someone in front of me, then it was me, and then there was this girl behind me. And then everyone else behind her, right? And we're standing there with our backpacks on because we haven't gone to our classroom yet to drop them off. and we're all just like waiting, first day of school, everyone's like excited and seeing their friends and saying hi to their friends. It's all good and dandy, right? Until the girl behind me throws up all over my backpack. Shoot. I remember being so like clinically unfazed by this, and thank God I wasn't like a sympathy puker. Thank God I wasn't a person who was like extremely grossed out by that. I remember being like weirdly so chill, which is like not an adjective that I think most people would use to describe me ever again, but I was like weirdly kind of chill in that moment. I want to say bordering on like I didn't even realize it happened, except it did also, trigger warning, it did also like get on my ankle. That's rancid and that's disgusting and I hate that. And that was like really actually fucked because my outfit for the first day of school was so sick. It was so sick. It was this like purple little skirt set. I had a purple skirt. I had this purple vest. It was so cute. And then I get yacked on like my first minute of being in the building. Like that feels really, really rude and kind of targeted and potentially a hate crime. Like who's to say? So that sucked. And I can't remember if the lore was that I had gotten a new backpack and I was like, okay, awesome. Or if I had wanted a new backpack. I think that's what it was. I think I wanted a new backpack and my mom was like, you don't need a new backpack this year. And then I got thrown up on the first day of school. So then I got to go get a new backpack. But the the thing that I really remember about this, and it was, the girl behind me, God bless her soul, she was probably just like so nervous and so anxious that she just simply threw up all over me. And I'm sure she was like so embarrassed. Like it's definitely more of a horror story for her. But I vividly remember getting off the school bus that day and like, I don't know what they did with my backpack. I don't know if they like cleaned it. I don't know what they did. And presumably I had all of like my back to school stuff in there. So like my colored pencils, like I'm assuming I would have had that stuff in there. So I don't know who dealt with that, but I vividly remember getting off the bus that day and like my mom and dad are waiting at the end of the driveway because it's, first day of school. They want to hear how it went. And I get off with this gargantuan, like huge black trash bag that just had this like throw up-y backpack in it, which was nasty. And then we did go to the mall that night and I got a new backpack. And then also I think that was the year I got my cheetah print backpack, slay. But then also one of my mom's friends, I think who she worked with, my mom had obviously told all of her friends about this like tragedy that had occurred to me. And one of them gave me this other purple backpack, which like purple was my favorite color, if you couldn't tell. So then I was just kind of like weirdly rolling in it when it came to cool backpacks. And I was like, yeah, yeah, it pays to get thrown up on the first day of school. So that is my back to school tragedy. I do want to do also like another episode, maybe in the coming weeks. So keep an eye out for write-in links because I feel like everyone has moments from when they were in school, just kind of like childhood trauma, but like silly childhood trauma. Like that's one of my childhood traumas. It also happens to fit perfectly in like back to school trauma. But I feel like there has to be like silly little stories of like things that you did when you were a kid that like haunt you, or things that happened to you when you were a kid that haunt you in a silly way, not in a way that like you need to dive into it with a licensed mental health professional. Of course, that should go without saying. But I was thinking there's just like like everyone has their little treasure trove of like weird or stupid or silly things that happened to them when they were kids. And I think those would be such fun stories to hear about. Okay, let's get into your back to school horror stories. Not incredibly traumatic, but incredibly embarrassing. When I was in 4th grade, I was playing at our school playground with some friends on the weekend. It was muddy because it had rained, so of course I slipped and fell. No big deal, right? Also, sorry to interrupt your story immediately, but there is nothing worse than, I feel like this happened more when you were a kid because you played more and enjoyed life when you were a child, but when you would fall as a child or like get hit in the face with something as a kid, like if you were tossing a ball around and you got hit and everyone's like giggling, makes you sound like everyone hated me and everyone's like, haha, it's so funny you got nailed in the face with a kickball. But you know what I mean? Everyone's like, oh my God, like laughing because it's silly, but you were in incredible amounts of pain and you're trying to brush it off. Like you feel the tears welling into your eyes, but you're trying to like play it cool and you're like, nope, yeah, everything's so silly. And you're really, really trying not to. There is nothing worse than that. So I sympathize. You slipped and fell. No big deal, right? Wrong. Maddie, I fell hard, right on my ass. So hard that I actually passed out for a second. Jesus Christ. Okay. And what's worse is that my friends didn't even check if I was okay. Fake friends. Hate that for you. My mom had been on the phone while we were playing. What? With who? Who was she on the phone with while we were playing and didn't realize what had happened? So I basically laid on my back in the school field by myself. It was only for a total of maybe 45 seconds, but still not fun. But then it gets worse. When I finally gained consciousness, again, my butt really hurt. And on top of all that, it turns out I broke my tailbone in the process of this not so graceful fall. I could barely sit without being in pain. And when I did, it would need to be in a high enough chair with a pillow. Not so bad, right? Wrong again. Because how was I supposed to participate in circle time where you must sit on a circle on the ground? I could not get down to the ground, let alone sit on it. My mom obviously had to tell my teacher that I would need some level of accommodation for the time being, but I didn't fully understand what a tailbone was. So whenever my classmates would ask why I couldn't sit with them on the carpet and why I needed a chair with a pillow, I would solemnly say, it's because I broke my butt. And everyone for the next few years knew that I was the girl who broke her butt. Love you and the pod and the rebrand. That is objectively hilarious. Breaking your butt. What grade did you say you were in? 4th grade? Yeah. That's gonna suck. That's gonna suck every single time. God, you must have like really, really, really fallen. Like you must have hit the ground so hard to just simply break your tailbone. There's nothing worse than that though. Breaking your tailbone. Not that I would know. No, but there's nothing worse than being like the injured kid in the class, especially when you're that young, because like other kids don't have the wherewithal to like treat you with grace and like you're a normal human being and stuff. They're like, you broke your butt. And I hate that. I really hate that for you, that you had to endure the wrath of what could only have been kind of mean and rude 4th graders. I'm so sorry about that. First day of my first semester back in person after Zoom University, I'm strutting along on my walk to class and trip and completely eat shit on the sidewalk. Like, this is another thing where when you hear it happens to another person, you're like, okay, not that bad. Then you put yourself in that situation, like you're walking through campus and you trip and just make a fool out of yourself. I'm so sorry to be using you as the example for this. And there's just like so many people around witnessing this happening. Like that would suck. In front of people who were actually kind and asked if I was okay. That's good, I guess. That is good. Went to class with a bloody knee and ripped leggings like a freaking 2nd grader. Best part, I tripped over absolutely nothing. Yeah. No, that does suck. And this is one of those like weird moments that when it happens, it brings you so much anxiety because like, truly, what do you do in that situation when you have ripped leggings and a bloody knee and you're like, but I have to fucking go to class. Like I literally have to go to class. So I guess I'll just like push through and persevere and just like awkwardly try and like cover your knee when you're sitting. So people aren't like, I'm sorry, what is your open wound doing here in class with us? Like there is nothing more uncomfortable than that. I remember my first year of college, we had this big ceremony for freshmen. You like walk up this hill. It's supposed to be symbolic, but I was walking up the hill. I don't know what I did, but my foot was bleeding. I was wearing like sandals and my foot was bleeding somehow. I don't know how I like didn't notice it, but I know no one. I literally know no one. And I'm like, I'm standing in this group of people just like walking up this hill. Like, what are we doing? And this girl behind me like taps me on the shoulder and I'm like, okay, new friend alert. And she's like, you're bleeding. I'm like, sorry. What? How do you know that? And I don't. Like, that's a crazy thing for you to inform me of. And I was like, what? And she's like, oh yeah, like your foot is bleeding. I just wanted to let you know, which was like so nice. And she was being so kind, but I am just like being a freak. It just like sucks to have someone else tell you that you are bleeding. Like that shouldn't be a thing that shouldn't be a situation that anyone should be finding themselves in. So I'm sorry, and I empathize. Okay. It was my birthday in 1st grade, and I was sitting in the cafeteria at lunch. The boy next to me decided to pretend to squirt his empty juice box on my face for a birthday surprise. diabolical. No, it's just a birthday surprise. You sick freak. Get out of here. I know it's like a fellow first grader, but still. Problem is, it wasn't as empty as he thought, and he shot juicy juice all over me. I cried, and he cried. He definitely did feel bad and was equally as shocked as I was about what happened. The principal came over to see what all the commotion was about, and I was made to apologize to the boy because I made him feel bad. No return apology required. Classic. This is my feminist origin story, my earliest memory of fragile masculinity and being told I'm responsible for a man's shortcoming. Thank you for listening. That is heinous. That is heinous and sick and twisted and foul. You're like, I'm sorry. Do you see the juice all over my face? Do you see the actual juice all over my face? Like that is so annoying. That would cause me like instrumental amounts of anger. I hate that. I hate everything about that. I'm sorry that you had to suffer through that. When I was the new kid in 5th grade, we were playing a PE relay race game. PE is physical education, also known as gym. It's literally just gym class for anyone. I don't know how far that stretches beyond the US, but that's what that is. So we're doing a relay race game where you had to skip as fast as you could across the gym and then high five the next person in line. I was an avid skipper and pranced across the gym like nobody's business. You're in 5th grade and you're like, I'm an avid skipper and I can prance like it's nobody's business. I'm obsessed with that. Keep that childlike wonder forever. Only the next kid in line was also very ready to skip. He had his hand out and his foot so he could get going as soon as I got back. Unfortunately, I tripped on his foot and flew into a brick wall behind him and somehow hit my eye and sported a super cute shiner for the next couple weeks. Everyone remembered my name after that. That sucks. And that sucks too because you're in a moment of glory and triumph. Like you are skipping and you're like, oh, I'm fucking killing this. I'm on top of the world. Everyone's going to be so obsessed with me after this because I am the world's greatest skipper. And then it's like all of a sudden, oh, okay, awesome. Do you mind if I just like eat bricks? Do you mind if I just cram my face into this brick wall? Would that upset anyone? If I just flung myself directly into this brick wall? Is that cool with everyone? Awesome. That does suck. And that would stick with you for sure. My dad got the after school care director fired. I spent most of my elementary school years in after school care as my parents worked normal 8 to 5 jobs an hour from school one way. Miss Duck was the head lady there. She was so mean, but her assistant, whose name I cannot remember, was oddly nice. They didn't seem to make a great pair. I remember the poor girl running around taming children while Miss Duck sat on her ass yelling at kids from afar. Anywho, as Halloween approached one year, I think 2nd or 3rd grade, the assistant tells us if you celebrate Halloween, you are the devil worshiper and cannot love Jesus. Beautiful. Mind you, this is a public school in the Deep South, so religion wasn't off limits. If it's in the United States, it should have been off limits, right? I know now there's states that are loving combining those two things, but I would think back then that would not have been, because separation of church and state is a beautiful thing. Okay. So it wasn't off limits, but it's not like I went to a Catholic school or something. I was floored by the news. I go home and my mom wants to start setting up for Halloween, either that same night or shortly thereafter. I start sobbing uncontrollably, telling her we cannot put sticky spiders on our windows because that means we are devil worshippers. Imagine hearing, what year did you say you were? I don't think you did. No, I don't think you did, but like elementary school. Yeah. Imagine your elementary school age child is like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I'll be a devil worshiper. And you're like, where did you learn that terminology? Like, that would be so jarring. My dad is thoroughly confused and everyone is trying to calm me down and find out where this random thought came from since we always celebrate Halloween. I tell them that the after school care teacher told me if we celebrate Halloween, we are devil worshippers. I may have seen her 1 or 2 times after that, but then never again. Dad tells me once I'm in high school that he had a meeting with the principal and all but forced them to fire her for making us believe we were devil worshippers. Slay, Dad. I love that for you. I love that for your dad. And also I love that for that person. Because telling elementary school students... Okay, also, this is one thing I will say. Mormons celebrate Halloween. The Mormons celebrate Halloween. If the Mormons can celebrate Halloween, you can celebrate Halloween without being a devil worshiper. I was so floored and shaken to my core because I did happen to spend my Halloween last year in Salt Lake City, randomly enough. And I remember being so shaken to my core at how obsessed the Mormons were with Halloween, to the point where I tried to go to Swig that night. Not even that night. It was like that. It was probably at like 4 or 5 p.m. And they were closed early for Halloween, which was crazy to me, because I for sure would have jumped to the conclusion that Mormons do not believe in Halloween, but they do. They love it. And so if the Mormons can celebrate it, anyone can celebrate it. Sans devil worshiping. And I stand by that, and I always have, quite frankly. That's awful though. That sucks. That's mean, and that sucks. And I'm glad that she got the comeuppance that she deserved, quite frankly. This one's called Supergirl for the Day. Hi, Maddie. Loving the rebrand. Thank you. I have a tale that to this day is so haunting, I sometimes convince myself it is made up. When I was in grade 3, our school had a whole week for fun events, including game days and dress-up days. I was most excited for the superhero dress-up day, as my friends and I had it all planned out and coordinated this. Skip forward to the day, and I go all out. Supergirl outfit, big boots, I down to a bright blue wig to add some extra flair. That's commitment. I show up, and no one is dressed up. I had to get to school super early when there were very few kids there because of my dad's work, so I didn't realize this until it was way too late. The weirdest thing is that no one said anything to me. Not even my teachers, not my friends. It's like no one noticed, or maybe just felt bad, or perhaps I just have blacked the whole day out. The pics are iconic. At least I need to see pictures. Please, please, please send me a picture. This is insane, because you said that you coordinated with your friends, and then you just show up to school and your friends are simply not dressed as Supergirl, and you're just like, okay, yeah, cool. Like no one says anything. I'm so confused by this. Also, even if it wasn't superhero day and you showed up like that, like the fact that a teacher didn't say something, even in a good way, even in a positive way of like, love that outfit. Like you're wearing a blue wig and no one says anything. That's crazy to me. Like objectively crazy to me that like a teacher wouldn't have inquired about, hey girl, why are you wearing a wig and dressed like that today? Not in a mean way, but just in like a, what's up? Is everything okay at home type of way. I totally get why that would cause you to just gaslight yourself into thinking in what was going on that day. Was that a dream? I don't know. Hey Queen, love you and the pod. And that's literally all she wrote. The day before 7th grade started, I was lighting our gas grill and lit my face on fire. And it's not funny. It's not funny. My eyebrows had disappeared. My lashes melted together and had to be cut at the hospital so I could open my eyes. No, I had inhalation burns in my nose and mouth. My face was crispy and had to be covered in Aquaphor at all moments. And the worst part, my hairline receded by 3 inches. I specifically did not allow my mother to take back to school pictures that year. Yeah, so you'll have to take my word for it. I know what you're thinking. Yes, I do have an insane fear of combustibles now. I wasn't thinking that at all, actually. I feel like everyone should have a healthy fear of combustibles always, let alone after being physically scarred by them. Love always, your Alaskan prison guard. Shout out to Alaska, and shout out to you. You are my bravest soldier this episode by far. Yeah, the timing of that couldn't be any worse for sure. So I sincerely empathize with that. Also, 7th grade, that's tough. That is really tough, because like if this had happened when you were in 1st grade, I would have said, hey girl, why the hell were you lighting a gas grill in 1st grade? But at least 1st graders, I don't think 1st graders would have been as mean about it. Like 7th graders, I think would have been mean. I think they would have been mean, and I hate that. I literally hate that for you so much. I'm so glad you're okay, first of all, because that's like a really, really incredible physical trauma, and I'm glad that you made it out relatively unscathed, and the fact that like you're still here, you're still kicking. That's crazy. And yeah, it's the timing of it all. It is the timing of it all. The day before, of course, that's the day that you decide to blow up your face. Like, really? Could you have decided maybe any other day earlier that summer to blow up your face? It would have been much more convenient for you moving forward. Just something to take into consideration. Hey girl, love the pod so much. Okay, so a boy started chasing me around the playground in first grade. I was running for my life. Isn't it crazy how, like, in any other context, if a man was chasing you around the playground, like, yeah, that is like valid fear for concern. But like when you're a kid, it's like, hee hee. It's like, if you put that on any other scale, that is the most terrifying thing that's ever happened. I was running for my life. Naturally, you were preparing for war. I was running for my life, tripped, and legitimately broke my ankle. I was so embarrassed and I didn't want to inconvenience anyone or cause a scene, so I spent the rest of the day in excruciating pain without telling anyone. I showed my after-school babysitter and she had a full-blown panic attack when she saw that my ankle was the size of a softball. She called my mom and I got rushed to the doctors, and yes, it was broken, not sprained, broken, and I was in a cast for months. Whenever I think about this trauma, I'm always like, was I a first grade badass who handled the pain, or perhaps a crippled and extreme people pleaser? Yeah, I guess it's probably a mix of both. Anyways, I'm 38 now and my ankle is fine, so all is good, I guess. But you better believe I'm teaching my daughters to speak up when they need to. This is so real. That is like such a real phenomenon, because I do think like people pleasing for so many people does start in the womb. It starts in the womb, and then when you were a child, like I actually did read a decent amount of stories that were similar, or people who children, I should say, children who peed their pants because they like didn't want to inconvenience anyone by having to like have them take them to the bathroom, like things like that like as a kid, it's like, how are we starting out this young as like the ultimate people pleasers? Like, I have no idea. But breaking your ankle and just soldiering on with your day, like that is next level. I think it definitely is a healthy mix of both. Like, you definitely are a badass, but you also should maybe see a therapist about the people pleasing. And I say that with all the peace and love in the world, of course. Hi, Mads. Love you. I was a really well-behaved child and literally lived to please my teachers. And I think this situation made the people pleasing side of me a million times worse. This is what I'm saying. Like, why do we have children who are people pleasers? That just shouldn't exist. When I was in kindergarten, everyone thought that my teacher was just the sweetest woman to ever live, but I could see right through that. She was honestly pretty evil. Her name was Mrs. Wild, and I think she herself was a little wild as well. One day during circle time, when the teacher reads to everyone, I was chatting with my friend. This has always been an issue for me because I don't know how to shut up. Anyway, when she heard us, she decided to put both of us in a timeout. In this case, timeout means we had to sit in chairs away from everyone else in the class and away from each other during circle time. Basically a humiliation ritual for my 5-year-old self. You may think, oh, they're in a timeout for the day, but that's not bad. For the day? For like the whole day? Or just for circle time? I'm assuming you meant just for circle time that day. Because that's crazy. Like the whole day she's like banished to the corner. That would be diabolical. But she does sound a little bit diabolical given what I'm about to read. But no, we were kept in that timeout for I don't even know how long, at least a few weeks. A few weeks. I didn't tell my parents because I didn't want to disappoint them. Classic. Then it came time for my grandma to come into the class and read, and I had nightmares about her seeing me sitting separated from the rest of the class and being devastated by my bad behavior. So I finally told my parents, and the next day Mrs. Wild said to me, "So I heard you'd like to try again? You can sit with everyone else during circle time today." But she made all of the other kids stay in timeout. I went home that day and cried to my parents because I felt so guilty. Anyways, Mrs. Wild, if you're hearing this, I hope both sides of your pillows are warm. I'm sorry. That is sociopathic. That is beyond sociopathic. So she puts you in a timeout to punish you. Keeps you there for weeks. I'm assuming this is all during circle time. Like you would just like, she's like, okay guys, it's circle time. And you would just do like the walk of shame over to your little timeout corner every single day, day after day after day. That's psychotic. Like that is fully psychotic. And then when you finally like break down, you're sobbing to your parents about being like weirdly kind of borderline harassed by this woman who's like on a crazy power trip, considering you're in kindergarten. Crazy power trip. You break down to your parents. They presumably confront her and are like, okay, like she needs to, get back and be with the rest of the class. She's like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, sure, no problem. And then she puts everyone else except for you in a timeout, so you're sitting by yourself in story time. Why did this woman hate you so much? Why did you have a beef with this woman? I'm so intrigued. I like need to know more. I need someone to go interview her. Like we need to do like a 60 minutes on this. I need this woman to answer for her crimes, because that is scary. That is like terrifying. I do not like that. Okay. On my first day of kindergarten, I rode the bus to school. Can't relate. Sorry. Having never been on a bus nor to school before, I was having even more anxiety than my baseline at 5 years old. That is so incredibly relatable. The bus proceeded to drive arguably way too fast down a bumpy, curvy, dirt country road. I tried to tell the bus driver that I didn't feel good, but obviously she couldn't hear me. Stop. That makes me like cry to think of like a little kindergartner sitting on the seat in the bus and be like, I don't feel good. Just like no one can hear a word she's saying, but she's like, excuse me, I don't feel good. That makes me literally want to cry. I don't know why. I just had to like act that out, but that's how strongly I feel about that. That makes me want to cry. I tried to tell the bus driver I didn't feel good, but obviously she couldn't hear me. Yes, I did in fact throw up on myself. And again, I tried to tell the driver, but she couldn't hear me. So I rode all the way to school, probably another hour in my vomit-soaked clothes. Beautiful. Upon arrival, they tried calling my mom, but in a bygone era of no cell phones, they couldn't reach her, nor my emergency contact, great aunt, who TBH was probably still sleeping at 8:30 a.m. The counselor cut a hole in a trash bag for my head and put it over me like a poncho. And then drove me to the nearest grocery store and bought me the only clothes she could find. A woman's beach-themed t-shirt that was way too big for me that I proceeded to wear as a dress all day with my light-up sneakers that had made it out unscathed. The first day of school class picture that they take is still an embarrassment to this day. We should really be talking about the driving abilities of our school bus drivers more. Okay, why are we blaming the school bus driver? What did she do, though? It sounds like she was just kind of doing her job at the end of the day. I'm on your side. But I don't think the school bus driver is at fault. You were just anxious and you vomited. Also, it sounds like everyone at your school was like so kind and went above. Like, she drove you to the nearest grocery store to buy you clothes. That is so kind. I guess because like they wouldn't have had any clothes in like the lost and found at that point because the school year was just beginning. That's crazy. That is fully crazy. That's kind of like a combination. That's like if you took my story and you made it so much worse. You made it so much worse because instead of coming home with your vomity backpack in a trash bag, instead it was you wearing the trash bag because of vomit, and that's such a unique spin. That's a really, really unique spin. Okay, don't sue me. I don't know what the actual wrestling move is called. I'm so scared. But when I was in 5th grade, there was a super spooky 4th grader at my elementary school named Kimberly. Her older brother, like 6th grade maybe, would literally smoke cigarettes when he came to meet her after school for their walk home. Just rough and tumble all around scary kids. I'm sorry. 6th grade smoking cigs. I would be so terrified. That's the scariest situation I can imagine. One time at recess, Kimberly came up to me and my friend and asked if she could show us something cool, and I simply said yes out of fear. She grabbed my wrist, bent me over, and literally flipped me over onto the ground on my back. I have the worst memory, but for some ungodly reason, this is something I can remember so vividly. Stay safe out there, prison guards. What is that called? What's that called? Like a body slam? A body slam where you get flipped? Where you flip the person. Because there is a name for that, and I just like cannot. Okay, known as a suplex. Yeah, I literally never would have. Oh, that is what it's called, but I never would have known that. I would have thought there was like a cooler, funnier name for that, but that would make me never want to participate in recess literally ever again. Sorry, am I going to get body slammed every time I go out to recess? That's just not fun. And that's just one girl's opinion. Getting body slammed during recess, not very fun. Getting flipped onto the ground, not very fun. And I totally know what you mean, that like there was those kids that you're like, I'm just like, you terrify me. And that's like really resonating with me. Kids, like just kind of bad kids that like you just know are so scary. You just know that they can flip you onto your back at recess. Those are not the kids you want to be hanging out with. Okay. First day of high school and in a busy hallway, shoulder to shoulder traffic, 4,000 person high school. That's literally bigger than my college. And I can't avoid it. And I accidentally kick the blind student's stick out of her hands. There is magically an opening, so it went like 12 feet across the hallway to the other side. She starts freaking out while the senior football star starts yelling, she just kicked her stick. You just did that. Causing everyone to notice. It's like the worst football player trope everywhere, just repeating something that just kind of like, with all the peace and love in the world, like kind of giving like dumb as bricks. And it's just like, she just did that. She just did that. Yeah, no, we know. Okay. Causing everyone to notice. I would never do it on purpose. God, I hope not. We were both traumatized. I avoided her like the plague for a year until we ended up in Spanish class together. And I swear, she shook when she heard my voice because she remembered me from freaking out and apologizing. Love you in the pod. That's not good. That's not a good one. I empathize with you 100%. But it's not a situation that would keep me up at night too. And I'm putting that on you. I don't know for a fact that it keeps you up at night. If I was a betting woman though, if I was a gambler, I would say maybe it does a little bit, and that's relatable. I empathize. All right, last one. Hi, Maddie. Love you and the pod. And that's literally all she wrote. I was very bad at sports and I couldn't do a forward roll in the gymnastics lesson. So I had to have two teachers, one holding my hand, one holding my feet, physically flip me over so that I would not fail the sports class. That's a little bit hilarious. I'm so sorry. Additionally, when we played baseball, I was given a wooden spoon because I was not worthy of a real bat. Sorry? A wooden spoon is not even close to a substitute for a bat. A baseball bat versus a wooden spoon? I guess I just wanted you to feel included. But what could you possibly, you couldn't hit a baseball with a wooden spoon. I think it would be harder to hit a baseball with a wooden spoon than with an actual baseball bat. That's hilarious, and also feels like maybe a humiliation ritual that you didn't know that you were a part of. Okay. Furthermore, we did a 2-hour high jump competition with the rules that when you failed to get over it, you had to sit on the bench for the rest of the time. The first jump was very low, but I tripped, so I had to spend the full 2 hours on a bench. That's so sad. That is so sad. Everyone's still participating. You're like, all right, I'll just count myself out. I'll just go sit on this bench by myself for 2 hours. That's tragic. And another like weird kind of like power trip, weird, what's the humiliation ritual that you participated in kind of against your will. I hate that for you. Wow. Thank you guys so much for sharing your back to school horror stories. I so appreciate it. Remember that you can enter this is the first week to enter for the September merch giveaway. So share the podcast on your Instagram story. Make sure you tag the podcast. Remember that if you're private, I won't get notified. So you will have to DM me a screenshot of that. And I will choose a winner at the end of the month. But I hope you guys have a fabulous week, and I look forward to chatting with you next week. And that's all she wrote. Bye, prison guards.